Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So you've written into us about a girl that you'd like to marry. You've fallen in love with her and have been considering getting married. But something really big that happened here was the revelation that she had been raped by a family member when she was 6 years old. And this has caused difficulties from now on. Not only in that you're kind of maybe angry about the situation that somebody could even do that to someone, but unfortunately these things happened, and you've stood by her after all this, and she's helped you out too. But your brother is advising against it, saying that he wouldn't marry someone in this situation because of the potential consequences of what she's gone through, and so you've cut off contact with her, but you do still want to marry her. But of course, your brother doesn't seem to support this. So I guess the first thing is to say that, of course, you're right that Allah does test people in certain ways, and this would be her test. May Allah make it easy for her. And it's not her fault. She was a minor, she was not the one who did this. She didn't go out and commit fornication. This was an act, a formidable act that was done to her. In fact, she was an innocent child. It's not her fault. She is not at fault here. However, on the other side, of course, it's really important to consider all things as well. She was not at fault, but it's also important, I suppose, to try and understand why some people like your brother might say that they wouldn't marry her. It might be because they feel that she is not pure. Of course, it's not her fault. She didn't do this on purpose, but this is just what some people might think, just to give you an alternative perspective as to why he may be discouraging you. Or it might be down to the fear of the psychological consequences that the girl might be having, or may have, maybe not now, but maybe further down the line, that she might go through, maybe when it comes to having children, the consequences that she might have, having gone through this and having to deal with that, or for her spouse having to deal with these psychological difficulties that she may possibly face. And that can be difficult, as it is, whether it be now, whether it be further down the line. And, this is really difficult for not only her to deal with, but also for a potential spouse to deal with as well. So maybe this would be another thing why somebody might not want to marry her as well, for the fear of having to deal with that with her. And of course, many people don't mind or are being very supportive, but just to offer you an alternative perspective on why somebody may choose to stay away from marrying somebody like that. I understand that you feel sorry for what she's been through. May Allah make things easy for her. Like I said, it's not her fault, but it is also, like I said as well, important to look more broadly and to understand other perspectives too. Whether you agree or not, it helps to give you a bigger picture. Obviously, you've gotten close to her. You have this love for her. So you might be blinded to these alternative perspectives. So it's always really good to be open to and hear other perspectives, to respect these alternative perspectives too, and make it easier to judge the situation. So I guess, part of this is for you to also be careful of any interactions that you have with people, especially sisters, of course, before marriage, because you have feelings towards her now. So naturally, you're going to feel sorry for her. You're going to have, fond feelings of her, and it might be make it difficult for you to see these alternative perspectives that I have offered you here, that perhaps your brother might not have, touched on in saying why he wouldn't marry somebody in her situation. But of course, you have feelings for her, so it's difficult for you to separate yourself from that. So it's a way of, I guess, highlighting the dangers of becoming too close to somebody who you're not married to before getting married, and understand how this can taint your view of the person because you have, developed these feelings for her. So I guess, first of all, is to offer you an alternative perspective. Whether you agree with it, whether you don't, whether I agree with it or whether I don't, is just to be aware that there are other perspectives out there, and somebody who has not developed these feelings towards this person, could maybe advise a bit more neutrally than you will see as somebody who, who has potential plans to marry her. So I guess it's really just about you stepping back from the situation, making sure you do everything in line with Islam, everything to please Allah, to see, these alternative perspectives, and, to really take the time to consider them. if possible, separate from the feelings that you have developed towards her. But I understand, having, gotten close to her, this might be very difficult. So I guess I don't want to advise you any way or the other, but I want to draw your attention to how the situation that you are in may have led you to feel the way that you are, and to encourage you to do things the correct way and to broaden your perspective. So you've turned to your brother and gotten his advice, and this is a good thing to do, because this is somebody who's not emotionally attached to the girl, so that you have this alternative perspective on the situation. So this is a positive thing. But also, I guess, moving forward, if you decide you do want to marry her, make sure you do so in the correct way. You distance yourself from her now, because you're not married to her. You shouldn't be having these close interactions with her, and make sure you do it in the correct way. So may Allah guide you on the right path. May He make it easy for you. May He grant you a righteous spouse who will be the coolness of your eyes in both this life and the next. May He make things easy for the sister as well that you have been speaking to.